fuck that shit, man. Fuck them. Fuck libertarians. Fuck the Republicans. Way fuck the Democrats.
Hello and welcome to episode number 117 of Unrelenting. I am Darren O'Neill, he is Jim of Juliet, and we will do the donation segment first. Okay, we're done.
Cool. So you're live.
If we are live, as opposed to the other way when we're not live.
No, you are alive.
I am alive, yes. Yeah, I had about a week of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just your typical summer cold, I suppose. It went from day one.
Are you sure it wasn't COVID-24?
It could be. It could be COVID-24.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, do the test for COVID-24? Because I had a test laying around, and I'm like, for shits and giggles, why not? But my wife had something too, and I think it was just your usual summer cold. But we went from day one, which was a sore throat, and I'm like, oh boy, I hate sore throats, because as a kid, I always got strep throat. So I always treat those a little bit more seriously, and by day two, the sore throat was subsiding, and all I was doing was draining a lot, like eyes, nose, just liquid coming out everywhere, which was fun. And then
could be Ebola.
Could be. Well, I'm not dead yet, which is good. No medical advice given on this show.
No.
Definitely.
But, you know, there is a 1% survival chance.
Well, see, I would be that guy. Would be that guy. By the time Friday rolled around, it was mainly nausea mixed with just being really kind of worn out, tired, that kind of a thing. So it went through a pretty quick progression. For the wife, she ended up getting a cough that just wouldn't go away. And I'm like, call the doctor, call the doctor, call the doctor, call the doctor, call the doctor. It's one of those coughs that sound like you're dying and happens like multiple times a minute, which for the person coughing, I'm sure it's a really horrible thing and an inconvenience. For anybody in the room with you, by like day number 3, you want to kill somebody. So she finally called the doctor. Talked to the nurse practitioner on the phone, did a televisit, and they gave her some pills and an inhaler. And sure enough, within 24 hours, it's like 90% subsided. Like I told you.
Yeah, the inhaler things work amazing.
Yes, and that's what it was the last time, too. And that was after doing this for the last time. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but the last time I think it was a solid month plus. Before getting the inhaler. And then it was like, oh, this is like magic. So I'm like, get the inhaler, get the inhaler, get the inhaler.
Yeah.
You know, you got to do what works. And I understand it's not fun, but it's like just, you know, and the worst, she hates when the doctor's like, yeah, we want to see you, because our doctor is like 40 minutes away, because it's a doctor we've been with forever. So it's a little bit more of an inconvenience. If the doctor's like, I want to see you, well, that's going to be a couple hours out of your day. You're going to have to leave work. You know, you can't just go on your lunch break. But the end result is everybody is doing a lot better. And that's why we're here today for Unrelenting, a show that has 0 in donations, including boost. No boost, not a single boost.
Well, that means we don't have to waste any time talking about it.
True. I mean, the pew-pews are on, though. I did it on Grumpy Old Ben's, and that annoyed Bemrose so much it was hilarious.
Yeah.
The pews.
You did set a minimum limit of 10,000, though, right?
I need to do that. I do. But you know who's not going to be pewing is that Polish guy, because we have had a falling out, I guess.
I heard.
Did he send you the message, too, which was great? He sent one to Larry, and he sent one to Ryan, like, gather in this arrogant, I am no longer donating. Like, never donate for anything you're getting. Only donate for what you've received in the past.
Yes, that is literally what I told him.
Nothing is guaranteed. It is there for
your donation is for what you've already heard or experienced or whatever. It's for things that happened in the past, and it's your showing gratitude. It's not in anticipation of getting something new.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I tried to explain. I guess that's arrogance. It's like, no, that's not. That's just letting you know that. And if you're going to send something in that is...
Well, here's the real question is, okay, he's not doing anything. Do you think he's listening?
Probably. But it's like, if you're going to send something in that is more or less an ad read, realize that most of the time we'll just read it. And that's what annoys me the most. It's like, the guy has donated very regularly, and we do exactly what he wants. The one time you do something fun, oh, don't do that or I'll never donate again. It's like, well, then don't donate again. We're podcasters. We provide content. We try to entertain.
Not at his expense.
No. It's okay. Somebody will step up. Ned will step up, and he'll be like, yeah, I want you to read this. Or we just, we continue to do, and anybody can.
And by step up, you mean somebody else is going to start getting donations from him.
Right, probably.
Yeah.
And the reality is, anybody that wants to send in a boostergram, anybody can sign it CSB. Just saying. There's no way to know if it's a legitimate boostergram or not. So there's that.
I mean, they're all legitimate. What are you talking about?
They're all legit. You just don't really know where they came from.
Well, you never know where they came from.
I know. That's the beauty of the Lightning Network, which I'm glad my Lightning Network is still running. So that's good.
Oh, good.
Didn't crash the network ever again. The liquidity seems to be fine. When I set it up, I had 1 million in and 1 million out, and it's still right about there.
Oh, good. So that means shit's flowing through you, not just to you.
Correct. So it's keeping things kind of balanced on their own. You just have to pay attention just to make sure, because if you ever get down to where you don't have the incoming liquidity, then your people are like, well, I can't send you anything. So it's not a hard thing to... when I was originally reading about all this stuff, and people were like, well, you have to check every day. You have to make sure all your channels are balanced. It's like, no, you don't need to make sure your channels are balanced. Meaning, if I have a channel open to you that is 100% outgoing, that's fine.
Yeah.
As long as I have a channel open from other people that are also incoming.
Right.
Then it all kind of works itself out.
Yeah. And if you open up a channel to some place that's big, then you're going to start getting traffic going both ways.
Yes. It's a beautiful thing. Any new spaceships? Did you buy anything?
Don't ask.
Oh, wait. See, this is just this was a random joke, but now the reality of the random joke is sometimes they hit a little too close to home.
I'm just happy that the whole damn sale's over now.
You're right. You're happy that you don't have to buy
no more money was being spent.
Thank you, Ned, for the 3333. Glad you recovered from the Fauci Ebola bird AIDS 19. Yeah, that's...
there you go.
It is bird AIDS now. That's because that's the new thing. I'm surprised they didn't tie any of this to the cicada. Like, it's a once in a 17-year... The cicadas bring out the viruses from deep in there. Did you
watch the interview that Tucker had with, I can't remember the dude's name, but it was on about a week ago, and it was a guy who's a professor, an economist.
I know that you sent me the link. I haven't had a chance to watch it.
It is excellent, and it talks about the creation of the COOF and how Fauci should be in prison and all kinds of things. And not from a pillow sales guy perspective, but from an intellectual perspective, which to some people may be worse, but it's nonetheless, it is very well done. It was probably, I think it was one of Tucker's best interviews. but in terms of what the other person was saying, I mean, Tucker was always just Tucker, but
he had that same look on his face, like he was.
Yeah,
amazed.
he's always like amazed at everything, or he's laughing like a little girl.
Yeah,
that's his two modes of interaction there.
It's what he's got. It's a strong. Yeah, that's exactly what he's got.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it just shows that you need to look at what's going on in a different perspective and understand that a lot of things that you would otherwise think are not related, but there's a really good chance they are, in fact, intertwined. And a lot of people, it's very easy because it was my default out of the box with people like Fauci, which was, oh, it's a fast moving thing. They're just getting it wrong. They're trying to do the best they can. And then
I never thought that. I could tell the guy's evil.
See, well, I wish I had that ability. I gave the benefit of the doubt, but as time went by, it finally was like, well, no, wait a minute.
Well, he's Italian. Why would you give him the benefit of the doubt?
Wow. Gene at sirgene.com.
Yes, please. All the mafia dudes, please send me an email. Yes.
Those damn Dagos, you can't trust them.
Nope.
That would get us. That won't get us thrown off of X yet because he's backing Trump. Elon is backing Trump after the big verdict yesterday. Wow.
Oh, shocker.
Who wasn't expecting
what a surprise for everybody.
It's amazing. It is amazing. Well, all these things, again, are intertwined for the people that think, oh, this case against Donald Trump in New York about hush money to a porn actress is really just about that and not about national politics. You're brain dead.
Oh. Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was amazed when Bill Maher went on to Megyn Kelly's show, of course, because he was hawking his new book, and said the biggest problem he had with Donald Trump was that he was an election denier. And she's like, well, you don't have a problem with Hillary? And he's like, Hillary never did that. And she's like, are you high?
Yeah, she did. Yeah. And he's an interesting one because he is definitely the default liberal, but because I think of his, I don't even think it's so much his persona as his just show name. He likes finding little irregularities or little things that are wrong and then poking at them because that generates buzz and money and everything else. Even though he's still voting Democrat every fucking election. But it's interesting because much like other people that have sort of remained where they were, but the Overton window has moved, that he is starting to be seen more as a, like he's not welcome in the Democrat club anymore.
Right, because he dares point out when they're wrong.
Right, exactly. And when he was on The View, did you watch him on The View?
Not the whole thing, but I did see the clips. One of him telling Joy Behar, who admitted that, well, if I have criticisms of Joe Biden, I don't say them. And you're like, well, this is why you lose credibility. Because you're not being honest and you are that intentionally pulling your criticism as a media figure of one party's candidate, in this case for the election. I mean, it shows that you are biased and you are not willing to be honest and have that discussion to say, okay, you know what? I don't like this about Trump, but I also don't like this about Biden. I don't understand why people feel like they have to treat their guy as
because it's a sports team. That's why,
I guess, and that's all it's turned into. And then the thing with Sonny Hosteen, who's like, you have no idea what's going on in Israel, sweetie. And Bill Maher, this is the interesting part, because I saw a blurb about Malem Blilek, from Big Bang Theory and Jeopardy now, I guess, that was like, I am a dyed-in-the-wool liberal, big-time liberal, will always be a liberal. But as a Jewish person, I'm having a really hard time being a liberal.
What'd you call her?
A Jewish person?
No. Her name.
Milam Blilek? I mean, it's mayhem. It's Blilek, mayhem. I think it's mayhem.
Mayhem.
Mayhem Blilek.
Mayhem. And yeah, it's I don't know. I couldn't tell who the hell you were talking about until I realized, oh, you mean yes, mayhem. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm no good with names.
No. You're one of them anti-Semites, clearly.
Obviously, because I have a problem speaking.
Yes.
I mean, people have been called anti-Semitic for a lot less at this point, so, or for a lot more. It's all a name pointing kind of a thing, but when you're liberal,
I mean, there's definitely been the Hitler thing.
Yeah,
you know, where like calling anybody you disagree with Hitler doesn't just make you look stupid, but it also invalidates Hitler's actual negative qualities.
Right.
You keep comparing Hitler to abnormal people, and pretty much everyone's like, well, yeah, Hitler's just like that guy, right?
Yeah, you're like, Hitler wasn't so bad. He was pretty good, actually, by comparison.
Exactly. And dude, I'm going to say it as a joke, but it's almost not a joke when I can well imagine in the next couple of years in school curriculum, the word Holocaust will be used only in the context of Palestinians.
I believe that.
Like, that's the Holocaust that we've experienced as humans on the planet Earth, and pointing to it as this big negative thing when Israel was attacking poor little Palestinians.
Right. Oh, yeah, you got to go after the perpetrators.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an interesting thing when it comes down.
I mean, I swear to God, if we need more people in office that are not pussies in order to have some kind of difference between like what is a overreaction and what is not an overreaction. Because if I was there, I would have just nuked the place. That would have been over and done with. 100% dead.
It does take care of the problem.
It takes care of the problem. I would have done that with a lot of countries, frankly. There's no point in waiting around and having your people die. And you don't nuke other people that have nukes, obviously, but you sure as hell start nuking people who don't have nukes. That's the point of having nukes, is you get to use them. America understood this. Did the U.S. need to nuke Japan in World War II when the war is already wrapping up and over and done with? No, absolutely not. But somebody made a decision that said, I don't really care if this gives Japanese people, they're worthless. But it's going to save a few American lives that may end up getting killed during the final invasion. Yeah, let's nuke them. And if they had more nukes, they probably would have dropped more than 2.
Well,
they built 2.
The point is to take care of an issue when it comes up. I mean, we're talking in the most extreme when you're going to nuclear bombing, but the same thing can be said when you see this stuff creeping in, like you start seeing the DEI stuff and these things going through the education system in America. The whole let's work with this. It's like, no, when the bad shit starts, you need to eradicate it, not, like with terrorists. You're not going to go in and negotiate. You're not like, well, this part's good. You can
go and negotiate as long as you've got a gun behind your back.
True, and you're like, here's what's going to happen.
Yeah, no, we'll give you everything you want. Here, just step over there and pick it up. It's all waiting for you right there. Yeah, one more foot. Perfect.
And I don't understand the people that will choose political party. And this is what's happening with a lot of Jewish people.
You mean like libertarians?
Well, the Jewish people that are liberals who are like, well, I really hate all this anti-Semitic stuff, but, I would never vote for Trump. But, even though my party, this is what I would never vote for Trump. And my parents had a couple that was really good friends of theirs. The guy was in a concentration camp. And she asked him, why do the Jewish people continue to vote for Democrat? He only passed away a couple of years ago. And he's like, because they see themselves as Democrats first and Jews second. And that just is so bizarre to me because I would think as far as who you are, I
don't think
myself
it's actually true. I think it's something certainly you could have said a few years ago.
And this is changing.
Because there was no reason to have any difference between Democrats and Jews. When Democrats are actively supporting people that aren't just verbally condemning Jews, not just Israelis, but Jews. Because remember, there are plenty of Arabs that live in Israel, and they could be saying the word Israel every time they say Jew, or, really focusing on the fact. But if they did that, then they're painting with a very broad brush, which includes people who are not Jewish, because the population of Israel is a very diverse population. It's the only country in the Middle East that is fairly pro-gay. It's a country that has Arabs, it has Africans, it has Jews, it has Europeans. It's got a lot of people there that are not Middle Easterners, and also it has a lot of people that are Middle Easterners. But it's just it's when Israel starts getting blamed for something, all the people who actually hate Jews crawl out of the woodwork. And there are people normally that would have opinions, but kind of keep them to themselves. All you got to do is read comments on YouTube videos, read comments on pretty much anything of the conversation. And it's almost impossible right now to see comments on a political channel or a politically related show. I mean, dog videos don't have those comments, or
most
cat
anyway,
videos, but
right.
Yeah, but anything that's politically related, you're almost guaranteed to start running into a Jewish conspiracy comment thread. Oh yeah, it's because the Jews, they actually control all the governments of the world, and they're all trying to fuck the white people. These people didn't develop these opinions right now. These are long-held beliefs that most likely were ingrained into them by their parents. Because how do you pick stuff like that up unless you hear it when you're young?
Right.
They were just kind of taught that, you don't really say things like that. But now it's an opportunity to say it. Kind of like, during World War II, people weren't being particularly watching what they say to Japanese people, or Chinese people for that matter. Anybody with slanty eyes tended to get very negative commentary associated with them.
Yeah, anybody that looked like their genetic makeup may put them in a category.
Yeah, and it's like, it's bad enough people were harassing Japanese, but like Chinese and Filipino, everybody else fell in the same bucket just because they have a resemblance to Japanese in terms of their eyes and their facial features and, skin color. And we went so far as to, pass laws that literally put people in a concentration camp based on what they look like.
Yeah, because of rampant fear, which can you imagine if we go back to, and let's just assume everything else is the same, even though I know that is a really false concept. But can you imagine if you would have had the internet back when World War II was going on, and the people could have gone and spread the vile stuff the way they are now? I mean, I don't think a lot of people even understand how much the internet has changed the way people think. One, because the kooks have a much bigger soapbox. They are legitimized.
I somewhat disagree, but somewhat agree with that. Here's what happened is, without the internet, like, the percentage of kooks hasn't, I don't think, really changed much.
No.
And it's probably under 1%, right? But the kooks can all group together now, even without physically living in the same place. So if furries want to have a meetup, you're kind of stuck with the people that actually live in the surrounding area. And that's as many furries as you're going to be able to meet up with. But when you're talking about groups that aren't into actual physical objects, like, and for people that don't know what furries are, look them up online.
I don't
That's
know.
more fun.
I was wondering if it was worse to be in the furry or the Texas Klan, or maybe there's a furry Texas Klan. There could be.
No, I'm pretty sure there isn't. But yeah, so as a result, the people that have ideological similarities that may be very different from most people can all connect up, and then all of a sudden it doesn't look like there's so few of them, because like, oh, holy shit, there's 1,000 people all that share the same common interest that everybody else thinks is crazy, but you all have a bulletin board and websites and chat things and everything else, and obviously a Reddit section,
right? You have to have a subreddit.
Yeah, everything you can possibly imagine, there's a subreddit for.
Well, this is why everything is amplified, which back in the day, if there was a protest, you know what? It was only people that were local. Now, I think people still are blind to the fact that when you have these protests in Washington, that 95% of the people are coming in from everywhere but.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. And it's not just Washington. It's literally every protest is actually fake right now. There are no actual protests going on. Everything is a coordinated, planned effort that is seeding. And then the majority of the people at the protest are basically just people wandering by and going, hey, what's going on? Well, what's happening here? Oh, we're protesting to make people bigger, bigger homes, or we're protesting to have free food. Oh, that sounds like a good idea. Cool. And then they just hang out there for a while. This is what's annoying to me too, because constantly amongst people that, have a predilection to think Jews run the world and they're evil, everybody that thinks like that after the college protests started kept saying, oh yeah, well, it's horrible. We're losing our First Amendment rights. All these governors are going in and breaking up these peaceful protests.
Right.
I'm like, dude, you're literally a white version of BLM. There's zero difference between people who think that these college protests were legitimate and peaceful and people that were supporting the Black Lives Matter protest. No difference whatsoever. It's the same mentality. It's literally the same tactics. And frankly, it's funded by the exact same groups, Soros.
Yeah.
And the only difference is the color of a lot of the people that are like their skin that are walking around. Not like there weren't white people in BLM protests. There was more whites than blacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was absolutely more whites than blacks. And just like in these, there are more whites that have never heard of Middle East countries and couldn't pick them on the map. But whereas in BLM, you had black people, minority with a bunch of white people. Here you had a few Middle Eastern people with a bunch of white people.
Right. Well,
it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah. I mean, in Bill Maher's world, Hillary Clinton never denied an election. So, of course, your worldview is different. And a lot of these people are like, what? The Palestinians never did anything to the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
They're just
the Palestinians never did anything. And the United States never expanded NATO. Exactly. Yeah, both of those. Mm-hmm.
It's like you don't know.
Palestinians, Ukrainians.
Kind of. I understand it's very hard because most people have no idea what's going on. If it wasn't for Bill
Clinton, we wouldn't have Palestinians right now. We would just have Israel.
Well, Bill was very busy in the White House with Monica.
Yeah, well, you couldn't be bothered.
You had much better things to do.
Yeah.
But this is it. The worldview of people, even though you are living in the time where we have the greatest access to information, as much as I hate the term misinformation, it's out there. There are lies.
What you just said could have literally been said 2,000 years ago by a guy standing on the corner in Rome and talking about we're living in the greatest age in the history of mankind and you people are squandering it.
Yes, this is also true. Also true. But people think they confuse having the information as having knowledge and believing that what their device spits out is the truth, rather than even contemplating for a minute that it might be the greatest propaganda machine in the history of mankind.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very personalized propaganda.
Well, this is what makes it effective.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's zero question about that, which is part of all of this data mining and why it is evil and how they know exactly how to be
well, incidentally, before we move off the topic, I can pile plenty on Israel too.
Oh, of course.
There's tons wrong with the Israeli government, and they're frankly Israelis. Not a big fan of Israelis. I've met a few decent ones. I've met plenty of not so decent ones. The reality is that painting everybody with a broad brush, you tend to be covering up a lot of individual differences and making everything the exact same color, and that's definitely the case. And are there people that are in the West Bank that are just trying to get by and sell products and make money and have no political issues and aren't trying to bomb somebody? Absolutely. Unfortunately, there's not enough of them to have changed the form of government they have from one that officially supports the bombing of people.
Right.
So, I've said this phrase a lot over many topics, which is every country has the government they deserve.
Well, yeah, when somebody is born, if they're Jewish, they're neither good nor bad because that they're Jewish. If they're Palestinian, same thing. But the stories that you hear are that if you are born Palestinian, 95% of Palestinian families teach the kids from day one, Jews are bad.
Well, it's indoctrination, but we have the exact same thing in this country.
Right.
Here, the problem's a little different because it's not the parents teaching them. It's that American parents are perfectly happy outsourcing education of their children for 18 years.
Oh, yeah, they checked out. They let the education system do it.
They completely checked out with education. And therefore, nobody ought to be surprised that what's coming into college out of high school are brain-dead drones that are extremely susceptible to fascistic ideas and are chanting anything that a professor tells them to chant. And given what we know about most professors, because there have been plenty of surveys that have indicated how one-sided they are, they're usually a little bit to the left of Stalin.
Right.
And these are the people that Americans have entrusted with their children. And then, oh my God, why are my kids acting this way? Because you don't give a shit about them. That's why. Because you decided that it's somebody else's responsibility to teach your kids. You believed Hillary Clinton when she said 20 years ago, it takes a village. Congratulations. Now your kids are the products of a village.
Yeah, well,
they've all become village idiots.
Because you're not vetting the people that you're entrusting their education with. And we go back to the early 1970s. The thing I point out, it seems like every month or so, which is go read the Weather Underground Manifesto written by Bill Ayers and others.
Yeah, it just talks exactly how to do this shit. Yeah.
And they did.
Explains how to do it.
They understood. Oh, you know what? Okay. The media and the education system, those are the places we need to control. And they weren't wrong. It took a long time, took decades, but you're seeing the fruits of that now. And there's no turning people back a lot of times when they've been indoctrinated. This is like when you hear stories of somebody that's in a cult and you're like, well, how could they be so stupid? Or how could they not understand what they're doing? It's like indoctrination.
Yeah.
People fall into it. And once you get to that point, it's really hard to pull people out. And you've got cases plenty where kids are then turning on their parents.
Oh, all kids are turning on their parents. That's a natural thing. These people leverage that to get them to turn on their parents on things that are ideologically socialist versus, capitalist. It's I think a lot of people made the mistake of thinking that the fall of the Soviet Union was the end of communism. And that is just a false notion. It was the end of communism in the Soviet Union, not in the world. And it was certainly not the fall of American communism, which was always burbling underneath. Is that a word?
Something like that. I mean,
something like that. It's a bubbling. I don't know. It's combining bubbling with something else, but essentially it's always been there. And it's over the years has come up a number of times, including in the 1930s, where, frankly, socialists ran this country. And in the 1950s, when we had the big anti-communist movement,
the McCarthyism,
which was
now the interesting
methods may not have been great, but the actual desire for it was absolutely on point.
Well, here's what I find interesting. Now, even when I was growing up, which is going to grade school and through high school was the 70s and 80s, the whole McCarthyism thing was taught that this dude was crazy and he was looking for commies where they weren't. And I'm thinking, well, I bet you there was a ton of commies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people that absolutely were supporters of communism, they were decrying the fact that somebody was noticing this and pointing it out.
Man, I don't know. There's something
like,
weird
oh, yeah, these
on.
poor people in Hollywood that were blacklisted in the 1950s. Yeah, for a fucking reason.
Yeah, they were doing bad things.
Because they were promoting communism. That's why I wish we would still have blacklisting of people in Hollywood. Because Hollywood is full of kooks.
If you would be in the troll room, you'd have saw Cotton Gin saying, I rarely agree with Gene, but that was a great summary.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I wasn't intending for you to agree with me.
I know. That's when people start agreeing with Gene, I start thinking about shutting the show down. It's time to.
Yeah, exactly.
This is getting dangerous now.
Well, this was a number of years back when Adam played a clip of Putin's speech on No Agenda. I texted him right after that. And I'm like, well, my job's done. I guess I'm moving on.
You got we got the indoctrination finally moved into this group.
Fully clicked in. All right.
Now everybody's on the same page. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Your job here is done. Now you just have to go buy another virtual spaceship and fly away.
Exactly. So I wanted to tell you about a fucking typical government experience I just had. And unfortunately, I'm going to continue to have. So I recently had a birthday, so I had to get a new photo for my driver's license taken.
Oh, well, happy birthday, Gene.
Yeah. And, I got a letter in the mail saying, yeah, you got to actually come in to renew your license because it's been 10 years since we took your photo, blah, blah, blah. And it says, and then you can schedule an appointment. So it's convenient. And I thought, okay. So, waited till my birthday. I wasn't going to do this early. What am I, crazy?
Yeah. And DMV and convenient rarely go together.
I know. I'm like, this is a cool new DMV that I wasn't expecting. This is good. So I get online with their link and I click on set an appointment. And can you guess when the earliest appointment in Austin is?
Like a month later?
Oh, no. September. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. September is the earliest appointment I can set in Austin to come in to get my driver's license renewed.
Which is already expired.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm like, well, this is bullshit. So what do I do? So, there's actually a little link there. It says, do you want to check surrounding cities? I'm like, okay. So I did that. And lo and behold, I found there's a city called Taylor, Texas, about an hour away from me.
Yeah, owned by Taylor Swift.
Exactly. And it's got an opening. I'm like, perfect. It's a long drive, but I'll get it over and done with and don't have to fuck around with it. Because I'm also going on a trip next week. So incidentally, we're going to be missing a show next week, FYI people, because I'll be traveling. And so it'd be nice to have a driver's license when I travel.
I was going to say, can you get on an airplane with an expired driver's license?
And when I'm renting a car, that would be nice to have a driver's license.
Yeah, well, okay, you're not getting a car without a valid driver's license.
Yeah, that might be a problem. So, consequently, I drove up there And, this is an hour-long drive.
When you drove up there, of course, with somebody else driving because your license is expired.
Sure, if you prefer. and so I pull up, park, and I notice the parking lot's kind of empty. Now I walk up to the building, and on the building, there's a handwritten sign on an 8x11 sheet of paper. And it says, "Sorry, closed, power outage." I'm like, apparently no one bothered turning off to set an appointment for today. Or maybe that's the only reason there were appointments today.
Right.
Is because they had a power outage and nobody was actually working. And so I was like, well, son of a bitch. And then by the time I was driving back from my not accomplishing anything, there was already traffic. So I basically spent half a day on this little boondoggle that accomplished absolutely nothing. And I still have to do that again and find another city to drive to on Monday. It is crazy.
I will only add insult to injury because my license was due again this year. As the guy that hasn't, remember this was 4 years ago. They were like, "Oh, go ahead, just renew it. We don't need you to come in."
Right. Yeah.
Same thing. Just send in the money. They sent me a new license.
Well, it's once a decade. Here's how often you have to come in. The interesting thing is you have to bring your passport when you come in for a driver's license.
What if you don't have one?
Then you can bring a birth certificate.
Your old license and being in the system with your face is not enough.
Not enough. Nope.
That's not fun. Now,
well, how do you keep the illegals out?
They don't.
Well, we do. In Texas, we just, we ship them off to Chicago.
This is true. You got to send.
You're welcome, by the way.
You send the Venezuelans here. They send the Hondurans over to New York. It's whatever works.
Yeah, it's whoever has the neighborhood. That's where we send them.
Yeah, I was amazed, though, that I just got renew your license again. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's. Do they not realize a blind man should not have a license?
I've heard that I could probably pass with just the one eye. I mean, there's people that drive with one. No, I mean.
Oh, my God. My dad's one of those. Yeah, I told you my dad's got very similar issues to you with his eyes, except he's like in his 80s.
You might have some restrictions, but they still let you drive.
But he has a license right now, and I don't.
Well, he can pick you up from the airport then.
He did offer. I'm like, God damn it. I got a rental car for a reason. I don't want him behind the wheel.
Right. Well,
basically, I've got a few days before I fly out to see him, and it's like, shit, I got to get a license before that happens. Otherwise, I'm going to have a blind man driving me.
You need to find a DMV that'll get you through the line.
All I need is a receipt. That's all I give a shit about. I mean, I don't care if I have the physical license because I'll have the old one, but I need a receipt to show them saying, yes, it's been renewed.
Correct. Yeah.
So if anyone has one of those receipts,
you can help out.
You know where to contact me.
Gene will pay. He will give you a virtual spaceship.
I'm not promising to break the law at all. I'm just saying if you got a receipt, let me know.
I tell you, the government is working as it should. I still don't have, somebody in the troll room mentioned the new, what do they call the new IDs? Because I don't have one of those.
The real ID.
Yeah, I don't have a real ID, which basically means I can't get on it. Will it be requiring a real ID to fly anywhere?
As of right now, in fact.
See, I don't want to fly.
That when I bought the airplane tickets, it said you have to have a real ID license.
You're like, damn, man, like what's that going to do?
Well, it's basically an anti-California bill because what it's saying is you have to have a driver's license that also is proof of citizenship.
Gotcha.
Because California is fully within their rights to give licenses to anybody the state deems can get a license. However, the real ID is a federal law, and California cannot break a federal law by providing real IDs to people that aren't citizens.
And they still won't check them.
And what I love is all these idiot Republicans that for a decade or more now have been yapping, oh, no, wait, real ID is evil. This is a bad thing. We don't want the government to have the ability to give us licenses that actually prove anything. The driver's license is just meant for a car. Yes, that's what it was made for. But clearly it is utilized as proof of identity at this point. So I am so frustrated right now. I'm frustrated with the fucking Republicans for not doing a goddamn thing for 30 years. And I'm frustrated, although not surprised, but still frustrated with the Libertarian Party that basically picked a gay Antifa dude over Trump.
Well, yeah.
I'm like, dude, can you try harder to kill off the party, please? Because that's exactly what they did. Anybody that considered themselves and would have mentioned, even in passing, oh, I'm a small libertarian. They're not going to do that anymore, ever. The identity with the libertarians is over and done with. I will never say, even though I fucking ran for office as a libertarian, I will never say that I am or have been a libertarian, because that party is a joke.
Well, all parties are a joke,
party.
And that one just caught up. That was one of the few at one point.
No, it was always teetering, man. It's always been teetering on a joke. And frankly, people of my generations worked really hard by running and winning elections in order to get the party from a joke like the Green Party to an actual minority party status. You have to have gotten 5%. I think it's 5, maybe it's higher, but at least 5% of the votes in a whole bunch of races for the party to automatically be included on the ballot. Because if you don't, then you're treated just like a write-in candidate. You're not officially on the ballot. And we fucking worked hard back then. And back then, I mean in the 80s and 90s, to achieve that. And for what? So that the current generation of people in the Libertarian Party can vote for somebody who's clearly not a libertarian in terms of principles. Fuck that shit, man. Fuck them. Fuck libertarians. Fuck the Republicans. Way fuck the Democrats. But, I don't have to say that because it's obvious and it's been the case forever. But there's literally nobody. There's nobody in the U.S. In politics right now that deserves a vote.
No, it's all just one scam or another.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it totally is. And, Trump will be sitting in prison by the time the elections roll around. So that'll be interesting.
He's never going to prison. That won't happen.
They are pushing for 4 years.
That's never, we realize
4 years,
this is never
no
going
parole.
to happen.
Oh, yeah. And everybody said, oh, you realize there's no way they're going to convict him.
No, I always thought they were going to convict him.
I guarantee you he's going to be in prison.
No, I would 100%. Bet money. How much you want to bet? Got a quick. How much is a virtual spaceship? We can bet one.
They're expensive, man.
Well, it depends on if you have all the air conditioning and everything.
Yes, that's true. The ones without air conditioning are a little bit cheaper.
From everything that you can, at least that I gather from what went on in that trial, there was enough judicial misconduct or things that just did not.
Have you seen what the Court of Appeals looks like?
Not
4
good.
black women. It's 4 black women.
Well, it's the highest court in New York. So I'm assuming this is
that's the one.
Second step. Which one, though, just said that, the Weinstein trial, that was bad. We're taking this out. That overturned the Weinstein verdict.
Mm-hmm.
There was one of the top court in New York did that. I'm assuming it's not the next step that Trump has to go through, but probably the second step, which is however many steps it takes to get to the highest court. I'm assuming they're in New York. You got what he just went through. Then you have the appellate courts, and then you probably have the New York Supreme Court, right? I'm assuming that's the steps that you have. And maybe that was the appellate court you're talking about. The New York Supreme Court may be different, the one that overturned the Weinstein thing. If not, it'll get to the main Supreme Court in the land. But I think this was all about one thing. I don't believe they ever thought they were going to get Donald Trump in jail. I don't. But what this is having the ammo to go out and say, he's convicted. He's a convicted felon. That's all they wanted. Even if it gets overturned tomorrow.
He's going to have to announce that he's a sexual predator everywhere he moves now.
Well, wasn't that without a doubt anyway?
Well, yeah, he lost the $30 million verdict for raping that old chick.
Right, the one that couldn't tell you what year it happened or where.
Exactly. Yeah.
I always believe the people that say somebody did something 40 years ago and they can't tell you where.
Mm-hmm.
They can't tell you when.
Yeah, you should always believe. Well, you should just always believe women in general.
Unless they're what's the woman that said Joe Biden raped her and the...
oh, no, she was lying.
Yeah, of course. She was lying. Yeah, you can't. If it's against Joe Biden, then it's a lie. If it's against Donald Trump, it's obviously true.
Yeah.
I think this just shows the United States is in Banana Republic territory at this point.
Absolutely.
And as I thought it was interesting because Bill O'Reilly yesterday had the same thought that I did, I think here on Unrelenting months ago, that said, if Joe Biden really wanted to confuse everybody and probably guarantee himself the next election, he would come out and say, I am pardoning Donald Trump for all previous and past
I thought
crimes.
of that as well. I thought of that as well. I think that would be hilarious. And it would certainly make him look very redeemable to a lot of the Democrats that are having doubts right now. They're like, well, see, now that we knew there was something we liked about old Joe. He's just a really nice guy who sees that punishing an old man that's roughly his own age and clearly isn't meant to be president would be evil. And so he's decided to pardon.
Yes, and it makes you the big man. I mean, how big is it if you have the power to say, no, I am wiping this away.
I'm going to pardon the guy who's trying to kill me.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's like this is...
You'd probably get elected again.
Yeah, indisputable.
I mean, he's going to get elected again no matter what happens. There's no... I've been saying this for 4 years. If Trump runs, he will lose.
Whether do you think the actual votes he loses or what we see?
The election. The only thing that matters. Votes don't matter. That's another thing I'm sick of. Hearing people that keep talking about, we're going to vote him in. You can't. You don't have the power to vote anybody in. The votes, they should stop doing this because it's pretend. Votes, popular votes for the president don't matter. They've never mattered. They still don't matter. They don't count. That's not how we elect the president.
Right.
And people pretending like it matters are idiots.
My question is not that. It's if there is no cheating, does Donald Trump have the votes to win? If everything is on the up and up with our current system, if we're going to
play make-believe.
Well, I know. Because there's always going to be cheating. The only question is who's going to be a better cheating group this year. This is very much like you said.
Who was better at it the
event.
last 60 years?
The Democrats. The Democrats.
Oh, very good.
Democrats.
You think things are going to change? Think the Republicans are going to start learning how to cheat it? No.
We have a Trump that's running the RNC now. I mean, his daughter's running the RNC, so maybe they're going to start learning how to cheat. Yeah.
Well, it'll take them a few years to learn how to do it.
Oh, it's not that hard to learn.
It is. It is hard to learn how to do it and get everybody to deny that you're doing it all at once.
Well, that's the beauty of it, which is, no, this is completely on the up and up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But a lot
there
of
are always extra boxes that are sealed with tape of votes in every election that come in well after midnight. And they're all for 99% for the candidate that we like.
Oh, yeah. It's every time this happens. The guy that's like way ahead when you go to sleep at midnight on election day, by the next morning's always losing. It's just, it's amazing.
To be fair, that's exactly how we got JFK.
See?
It was all Chicago.
Chicago, baby. Thanks to Sinatra, thanks to Sam Giancana, thanks to the votes being bought. But there's a difference between votes being bought and cheating electronically, which I still think is a little bit harder.
I don't think there's any difference. It's Soros paid for both times.
Right, but I think it's easier to buy the votes than it is to do the...
The only difference is you can buy them wholesale now.
Of course. But here's the question. You
buy them from the machines instead of from the people.
I think that's still a little bit harder. In the last election, the Zuckerbucks definitely made a dent in the result, I think, because it went to areas that were right on the precipice and you just knew you needed to push one slightly. We weren't talking about millions of votes, and most of these places you're talking about a fairly small amount of votes. I don't know if you got guys like Elon Musk, the guy that Sequoia, whatever Sequoia was, that's some company. After the verdict yesterday, he's like, I'm donating $300,000 to Donald Trump.
300 million.
Was it 300 million? No, was it?
I think it was 300 million.
I thought it was 300,000. Either way, it was a lot of money.
Why would they even mention 300,000? That's not a lot of money.
Geez, like you see what I spent for
like
my
one
virtual
spaceship? Yeah, exactly.
That's nothing.
Exactly.
Either way, if you got somebody like Elon Musk, if the Republicans have what the Democrats did the last time in Elon Musk, if the Republicans have their version of that that's willing to...
They don't.
They might.
Nope.
They might.
Nope.
I mean, if you would come out, I mean, you've got with those spaceships, if you sold a few spaceships, you can make a difference, Gene.
I could get us to Mars.
Yeah. Well, that might be, are we going to run for president on Mars?
Uh-huh. Well, we'd be challenged by Elon Musk for sure. But yeah, it's, I just don't see it, dude. I think what we have is we have a corrupt party and a weak party. And half the population's in one and half the population's in the other.
Yes. And we're realizing that a lot of this is just an illusion. And this is another reason I think why the anger level is higher than it has been in the past on both sides. I mean, the absolute just, if you're...
And that's the only good thing. Honestly, it's the only good thing about what happened in Israel. It's the only good thing about what's happening in the U.S. is it's maybe, just maybe, it'll shake some people awake and make them realize that their passivity has brought this on.
And I think anybody that is not making 500,000 plus as a family, I think the grocery bill and what you're paying for your electricity, especially now that summer's here and the air conditioners are kicking on.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to look at this and go, from every number that I'm reading, it's like 40% higher what people are paying than when Trump left office.
Oh, yeah.
So if you were normally spending, $10,000 a year for groceries, you're now up to 14 or 15,000.
It's Trump's fault.
Yeah, of course, it's all Trump's fault. He left Biden with the economy falling down, don't you know?
Yeah, no, he set it up on purpose for it to fall down right after he left office because he was trying not to leave office. So this was his mechanism that he set up before leaving, that if he ever left and didn't become God for life, that he would crash the economy for whoever comes in next. So Biden's actually done a great job in dealing with what Trump left him. That is what you hear on CNN.
Yeah, he's a mastermind. He is an economics professor level mastermind.
I mean, you have to admit he's had a lot more political education than Trump has.
Well, he's been in office a lot longer. I mean,
50 years, yeah.
Today, I don't know what time, but he is meeting with the Kansas City Chiefs today. So that should be big for Joe Biden.
Oh, yeah. Maybe he'll take a knee.
He might. And it'll be interesting. Will he talk to the kicker, the guy that was very Catholic, who'd probably be like, hey, asshole. It's like when you're looking at this, Joe Biden on The View was like, this is really a case of good versus evil. And Bill O'Reilly said this, and I agree. He's like, Joe Biden and Jill Biden are on the record being fine with aborting a baby who is 5 minutes from being born.
Yep.
Totally fine with it. It's like, you want to talk good versus evil?
Yeah.
It's like, if that's not evil, I don't know what is. And people can argue abortion all you want. And
you have no voice in this matter. It's a woman's choice.
I know. Unless I identify as a woman, then you better listen to me.
Yes, then exactly. Because if you identify as a woman, you are a woman. And you know what they say? Believe all women.
This is true. Well, and you can change too. It's fluid. So I could identify as a woman, make the point, and then identify as a man once again.
Yeah, and then ignore the woman. That's exactly right.
That's how it all works out. I identify as. But it's like that. If you're talking good versus evil, it's like Biden. You ain't got nothing.
Yeah.
On the good side.
I love watching those videos of man on the street or the kids in protests that somebody films where, some clearly average looking white dude will start talking to him, and these and
it girls, is always an average looking white dude doing this.
And it is, because that's who does these videos. And then these gaggle of girls, because they're never alone. You never see a young woman alone. It's always in a gaggle. Are like, yeah, well, you wouldn't know. You're just a straight white guy. And then the part that I love in these videos, and the guy says, "Wait, did you just call me a guy? I'm a woman." And then they don't, like, you could see the short circuiting of the girls' brains, because now they don't know what to do, because they've been so indoctrinated with this idea that anyone who says they're a woman is a woman.
Right.
That to argue with this guy is going to be going against what their professors say.
True. But
the alternative is apologizing to this clearly dude who they called the dude and assumed he's straight, and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to gender you, my bad." And that makes them look bad. And there's nothing that a woman hates more than admitting that she was wrong. So, yeah.
Well, this is exactly, I brought a clip.
It's a fun video.
To Planet Rage this week, if I can pimp that show.
Yeah. Pimp it up. That's your clip show where you actually do about 10 minutes of work and play about an hour's worth of clips.
We do a lot of playing of clips.
See, I know this because I occasionally listen. Not very often, though.
There was one where a dude, and it had to be in a Zoom meeting. So it was a Zoom meeting of a group, that was for like overweight female or something. And it was a dude that was skinny, and they're like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I identify as 275 pounds and queer. It's like, well, no, this is, they told him, like, well, this is only for actual fat bodied people. And it's like, well, that's not the way your system's supposed to work.
Exactly. It's like, I can't believe you're acting like a Donald Trump here.
Right. It was for queer overweight people. And he's like, well, I identify as 275 pounds. I didn't see the guy. I'm assuming he was fairly skinny, which would make the bit even better.
Exactly.
But they were like, well, we don't understand what you're doing. It's like, well, how do you not understand?
I noticed this like 15 years ago when I was chatting with somebody or posting something online, and
probably on OnlyFans.
Basically, I mean, it was like a group for like people that like redheads, and
Gingermania.com,
which I do. I've always liked redheads, and then somebody clearly was a fake redhead, like a bottle.
Oh,
bleach blonde, but a redhead.
That's horrible.
It is horrible.
That's bait and switch.
I mean, you get credit for trying, but ultimately you're not a redhead. And then I made the grievous mistake of clarifying that I like real redheads. And oh my God, did I hear a huge waft of female indignation coming through. It was like, what do you mean real redheads? Hey, I'm a redhead just as much as any other redhead because I've chosen to put this stuff in my hair. I was like, no, that's not the case. Like I like actual women, not pretend women. I like actual redheads, not pretend redheads.
I can just picture you making this case exactly with the no.
That's exactly what I said. Yeah, because it's like, dude, don't tell me what I like and what I don't like. I think I'm the only one that can judge that. And there's a big difference between somebody that is pretending and somebody who's actually something.
And it's just an oddity that we've gone so far from a society where changing one's appearance is mainly things like that to where we are now.
Yeah. Well, good luck finding there aren't redheads anymore. There are blue heads.
There's a lot of bizarre colors.
Yeah.
Green,
I think
purple.
blue took the longest. Yeah, we had red and green back in the 80s in the punk movement. I remember that. Like the green dyes had already come out.
Yes, and they was usually in a mohawk.
Yeah. A really poor attempt at one.
Right.
But the blue seemed to have taken forever for hair dye. And I don't know why, because we had blue dyes and blue paints like forever. So
it was probably toxic to humans.
It probably and nothing changed. They just removed the toxicity level.
Right. They're like, it's fine.
It'll be fine.
It won't suck your brains right out through
There's
your ears.
no brain. If you're putting on blue hair, there's no brain to worry about. You're good. You're good to go.
Be fine. It's like, but you could just say you are whatever you want. And how dare anybody?
And you've always been able to say you are whatever you are. The difference is they're trying to enforce other people believing it.
Well, and using the pronoun that you want. The concept that you can pass a law that is if you mispronoun somebody that you could get a ticket or go to jail. It's like you're nuts. I mean, it's what they're pushing for, but it just shows how far society has gone down the rabbit hole. That no, I have to force you to. Then it's like, what does everybody have to wear name tags that are like, well, my preferred pronoun? Which, of course, then people like you and I would walk around with the tags on that say my preferred pronoun is, and it would be like, go fuck yourself.
Well, you would do that. Mine's always been Lord and Master. That's my two pronouns.
And do people really adhere to that when you meet them?
That's a good way to get them to not interact with you.
True. It's the perfect thing for the introvert that is out and about.
Yeah, feel free to copy that.
And then send us a video and see what people do. Go into one of those protests when people are going crazy and be like, nope.
And what I love is they start to say things like, well, those aren't real pronouns. And them and they is a real pronoun for a singular individual. Okay. Yeah.
Well, it's beyond just that. There's shwi and z.
Oh, yeah. There's zer and z and all that crap. Yeah.
It's like nobody knows what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, and people don't understand what the point of a pronoun is. The point of a pronoun is you don't know the person's name. That's when you use the pronoun. It's like, oh, that thing that's vaguely described as a female.
Well, and
that's who I'm referring to.
It's for not having to constantly use somebody's name, which is also weird. Like if, I went to lunch with Gene and Gene did this, and then Gene did this, and then Gene did this. You could just say he. That's fine.
I mean, I'm okay with you saying Gene too. That's fine.
But most people, it's like that's it. If you're reading, fiction.
Can your preferred pronoun just be your name? Does that work?
Oh, see, that's even better.
Yeah.
Then they always have to use your name, and that way, if they call you anything else, they throw in a pronoun. Nope, they have to use your name. Better for branding that way.
Or better yet, just use my last name, which you can't pronounce.
Yeah,
exactly. Oh, no, you just insulted me by not misgendering me right there.
Right, you did not say my name correctly.
Yeah, my pronoun correctly.
I will take this as a slight, and we will now go out and duel.
I will file appropriate paperwork with the U.S. government.
Yeah. Well, and this is it. The government will eventually get there, but right now, this is happening on college campuses, which is the insanity of it.
Absolutely. You get kicked out of college for misgendering a professor.
Or anybody. I mean, there was a professor that just won his court case against the school because he was like, fuck you, I'm not doing this pronoun thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you should be encouraged to create mental illnesses that excuse you from that. Like, if you have
Tourette's,
for example, you could just use the pronoun fucking for everything.
Well, see, the Tourette's people are going to be the ones in jail when they pass the laws on this stuff. Because they're like, well, I can't do what you're telling me not to do.
But that's the thing, right? Because they're a minority group. That you got to remember, minority privilege is how you get out of jail. It's not by being right or doing something that's legal. It's by having the right combination of privilege.
True.
Oh, so two things that I wanted to bring up. One is I heard a great term, which was that I forgot that I need to remember, but it was a term. It was a term for.
This is why people tune into the show, Gene.
I know.
I have something very important I want to bring up.
Super important. I want to make sure I bring it up. And I thought it was a hilarious term. It was a term for basically white liberal women. But the acronym for it was an insult. And that's so it was like rich white liberal something, but the acronym was I'll try and remember it before the end of the show. because it was pretty damn funny.
Well, and you have to, I mean, again, a lot of this stuff I've been rewatching Entourage now.
Mm.
And there's a lot of things in that show that they could not be made today, 20 years later.
And that wasn't even all that long ago. That was what, like
20 years? Yeah, 20, when it started.
20 already?
Yeah. Wow. Believe it or not.
It's amazing.
There was one scene where the old guy, which was an old studio guy, that they were, Ari and E and he were all going to the same place. And they're like, you want to ride with us? And he looked at Ari's car, which was a BMW.
Yeah.
And he's like, I ain't getting in that Nazi sled. I'm like, I've never heard BMW called a Nazi sled before.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been around Jews enough, I guess.
Well, I mean, I knew the Mercedes story, but I wasn't. BMW was right there too, because that's part. Is that part of VW? Is BMW?
No,
they're not related. But VW was also part of the whole issue, wasn't it? With the in Germany back in the day,
the issue with Germany.
Back in Germany. Is that
what we're calling it now?
The issue, yeah. That's like the troubles in Ireland. The issue,
yes.
That
the weight loss in Ireland that happened in Irish history.
The potato famine?
The weight loss,
the weight loss thing.
Yeah.
The problem. The problem they had in Germany with that guy. There was a guy with a bad mustache.
I don't think they had a problem with him, though. They elected him.
They were kind of happy with him for a while.
Yeah, for quite a while.
So he's kind of like Donald Trump. He was a populist.
That's just like that.
Exactly like.
Just like that.
I mean, Donald Trump also wrote a book.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that just means they're exactly alike. They also wrote a book.
Mein Kampf, The Art of the Deal. Really, I mean, if you
isn't Mein Kampf just Art of the Deal in German?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is what the hard-hitting stuff people come to this show for. Yeah.
So the second thing to mention is I got a little bit of I don't know what to even call it, of a whole bunch of people telling me I'm wrong on X. What do you call that?
Yeah, when you're wrong on X. One, the No Agenda Millennial wants to know if it was a fluent white female liberal, which spells awful. AWFL.
It might. Yes, that's exactly what. See, there you go. Somebody already knows the acronym.
This is why the troll
I laughed at that. I thought it was hilarious. Awful. Yeah, the awfuls. The
No Agenda Millennial. He does that MMO show with John J. Doe. Isn't that the guy?
I don't know. Is it?
Or is it G? That's one or the other. It's the MMO show, though.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never heard of it.
The Millennial Media Offensive.
Yeah. Millennials are getting old now.
I know. See, sorry, you're getting old, Nam.
It's funny. You know, the alphas are coming.
Not what are the alphas?
After the Gen Zs.
Well, I guess after Z has to come A.
Yeah. So it's going to be the generation full of alphas.
But they're all going to be betas.
They're probably. You imagine being part of the beta generation officially?
I mean, like, you don't have enough going against you.
Oh, great. Fucking betas. Yeah.
No agenda.
We thought it was bad to be Gen X.
Yeah, Nam says, but you'll always be older. So there's that.
That's true. That is very true.
Well, you don't know. Gene has these therapies that he does. Technically, physical age, he's like 4 now.
Yeah. Mental age, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, he has to drink the blood of vampire bats or something like that.
Vampire bats.
It's a weird thing. I mean, they're only
technically, the bats don't actually age.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Then why do they die?
Accidents.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They'd live forever if they weren't accident prone.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
The more you learn.
They have they're also impervious to the vast majority of viral diseases.
I guess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is why getting bitten by a bat's not a good thing, because they're carriers for a lot of stuff, because they don't, they don't get sick from it. Because normally it's part of the control mechanisms that, by the way, we give no medical advice here, but
right. This is why eating bats in a wet market in Wuhan might be a bad
not a good
idea.
Thing. Because part of the control mechanism for the spread of viruses is the mortality rate. So when a population has a high mortality rate, that particular virus can't get out very far, right? This is why Ebola is controlled for the most part because it tends to kill off people that are infected. And so that means fewer people will get infected from that person because they're already dead unless they're eating them. And when you have
just another case against cannibalism,
right? But when you have a species that are immune to certain diseases, it doesn't mean that they can't be carriers and they can have the virus or even the bacteria in them. They're just not damaged by it, but long term, they can have them in them. And so they can pass it on to others if consumed or if they bite somebody. And then that species may end up getting infected. So it's you need to be a little more wary of animals with really good immune systems because they're more likely to be carriers for something.
That makes a certain amount of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is not.
I still think
advice.
Bats are cool. Yeah, no, and I don't mean like to eat. I mean, I think they're cool animals. I watch Australian flying fox videos on a regular basis. They're constantly having to be rescued from like hitting the fence or falling off of power lines or something. And they're super cute.
Until they bite you and give you the disease that is going to take you down.
Happens. Yeah, because they're not sick, but they just happen to have that in them. What have you seen the videos of Australian flying foxes?
I have not, but I'm surprised you don't have a few as pets.
I know. I would totally have them as pets. I don't know if I'm allowed to have them as pets here in the U.S. because I don't believe that they're allowed to be exported from Australia.
I mean, you're going to ask permission for this? Come on.
Yeah. But they are.
Wait. Is this okay, everybody? We've been doing this show for 3 years now or so.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first thing you don't have a guy for. You don't have an Australian rare animal guy.
I don't have an Australian rare. No, he got hit in the side of his heart with a puncture wound.
Dale from Down Under. If you know a guy,
if you know a guy, then send me some of them Australian flying foxes, man.
Gene's house will be the life of the party from now on.
They're super cute, man. If you look at these things, they just look like they're cartoon stuffed animals.
Until they're deadly.
No, not necessarily. I mean, they're very cute. They live about 45 years. So they're immortal at the same time, which is pretty cool.
They're good for pets because you don't have to replace them all the time like hamsters.
Nope. This same reason as snakes. Yeah, my snakes will live to 40.
So your snake's going to outlive you. So there you go.
Well, I mean, to be fair, one of them now is 22 years old.
Ah, okay.
And I don't know if people realize I may have one of the oldest living snakes in captivity because people tend to get rid of snakes as they get aged out.
But you.
Not me. Nope.
He built the whole house around them.
When I have a pet, it's there to stay.
He jacks up the CO2 levels.
That's right. Everything for their comfort.
Get nice heat.
Mm-hmm.
If you like the African jungle, this is where you want to be at Gene's house.
Yeah. Well, they're not really African, but sure.
I was just building a theater of the mind for them.
I see. Anyway, so I mentioned the Twitter thing. So I, occasionally do a little shit posting now and then. And there was a comment that I saw by Lauren Southern talking about Leonardo DiCaprio dating younger women.
Oh, I saw this.
Yeah. And so, doing a little shit posting as I occasionally might, I said, oh, well, now that Lauren's no longer hot, looks like she's jealous. Not a good look. And Lauren retweeted that. And the army of simps descended.
Oh, so she retweeted it not because she thought it was funny, but instead so that.
Oh, no, I'm sure she was insulted by it because, I called her not hot. And how dare I call somebody who is no longer young and now has had a kid and is divorced not hot? How dare I do that?
It's horrible.
And so I started getting, like, every 5 minutes, my phone going off that I had more and more replies coming in.
That's funny.
And it was like, oh, what kind of incel idiot are you to think that Lauren's not hot? Ha ha ha. And just, I'd say 95% men, white knighting, coming in to defend poor Lauren from being insulted by being called not hot. Oh, what an evil person I am for calling somebody not hot, who's incidentally supposed to have been, in the past, a conservative reporter. Not an OnlyFans model, not a porn star, not even an actress, but a reporter. How dare I call her not hot?
This is why she brought down the wrath of her followers upon you.
Yes, she did. Exactly. And so these are all people like obviously don't know me from anybody and don't follow me, but that all felt like they had to tell me what an idiot I am for thinking that Lauren isn't hot.
This is the weird world we live in.
Well, it's interesting. I actually thought it was a fun experience because I maybe have had that happen once before. Generally, I don't really interact with the simp communities.
Well, you should. They might be a big fan base for Sir Gene Speaks.
If I was a female, yeah, probably. But given that simps are 100% male, 100% don't get laid, and 100% are going to be white knighting for some chick, and
that they will never have a chance in the real world.
Never in a million years. And they are only doing that for one chick at a time. That's the other thing that I find hilarious. These are basically, very well, not just one-sided, but they're basically, what's the word? What's the word when you're only with one person all the time?
Monogamous.
Oh, that's right. It's a hard word to remember. Anyway,
mono meaning one.
Yes, and gammy meaning sex.
Sure.
Yeah. So they're going to have one chick that they pick to be monogamous with in their pretend relationship online. And they're going to then defend her honor at every opportunity that they see her getting slighted. Now, the reality was I actually misread her tweet. And so I did a shitpost comment inappropriately because she actually wasn't the one saying what I didn't notice is she was replying to somebody that thought that Leo dating 18-year-olds was cringy. Because it's not. It's very natural for a rich man to date young women.
You mean for a young woman to look for a payday.
Yes, absolutely. That's literally the oldest profession in the book.
See, I wasn't even familiar with who Lauren Southern was, but she is a libertarian, so there's that for her.
Is that what she's calling herself now? She used to be the darling of the right. She was and she was I really enjoyed the stuff that she did with, she's a Canadian, that she did with that Canadian conservative YouTube channel thing. What are they called? I can't remember what they're called, but
Rebel Media.
That's the one. Yeah, Rebel Media. It's like when in her Rebel Media days, she did a lot of very fun reporting where she had like feces thrown at her and all kinds of stuff by being like outwardly, conservative, talking at a protest of a bunch of hippie liberals. But again, did I talk about her politics? Did I talk about anything that has anything to do with it other than looks? No. And by the way, is it an opinion or is it a universal truth of whether somebody's hot?
Opinion, totally, 100,000%.
Right. So I express an opinion, which frankly I think is a legitimate opinion, given that she's in her 30s now and had a kid, that she is no longer hot. And I get all these messages from people telling me how I am so objectively wrong. I mean, it's funny. It is. I chose to not engage with anyone. I don't need to have a debate on the hotness of somebody on X. But I'm certainly going to state my opinion on the hotness of somebody on X.
It's an oddity. I mean, the concept, what you're seeing here in a much smaller, although obviously large enough group, is what's going on.
I'm sure she's got, hundreds of thousands of followers. She's not like a small time follower person.
Yeah, right. But if you went out there and said the same thing about, that pop singer.
And I've said it plenty of times about that pop singer, and she has a flat butt, and now she looks fat.
Well, yeah,
not hot.
People are suggesting that maybe she's got something in the oven.
They are, yeah. But also, there are plenty of people now bashing the people suggesting that.
I know, which is crazy.
What a horrible person you are. Women's, bodies can have different shapes at different times of the month, and it doesn't automatically mean a guy just implanted an unwanted kid in there.
It's just bizarre that people will go to war on behalf. Now, if somebody said something about somebody in my family, if somebody said something, horribly vile about maybe you, I'd be, I might jump in like, fuck you and go. Yeah. But it's like, why would you even care for some random journalist?
Because they have a relationship with that person that is literally unknown to the person.
Right. Well, this is it. They think they have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
And that is the oddity for anybody that puts any part of their life out there. It's
literally a cult. It's a cult-like phenomenon, because this is what happens when you insult the leader of Scientology. Is you have a bunch of Scientologists tell you how evil and wrong and wicked and stupid you are, and then threaten to sue you.
It's just weird. Even as a podcaster, the people that listen that then think that they know you, even though you may have never interacted with them at all. Now, there's a lot of people I interact with, like my buddy DigiGuru, who's in the troll room right now, that you go back and forth with. That's a completely different thing. But there are people that listen to Rogan who have never had any communication with them that are like, oh, I know Joe because I listen to him.
Yeah, exactly.
X hours a day, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then are willing to go.
Yeah, I know Michael Malice, man. We shop at the same grocery store.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me. It just
we do. I mean, I've talked to him in the grocery store, but it doesn't mean I know him just because I've talked to the dude.
You're like, hey, I'm Gene. You want to come?
Yeah, I say, hey, Malice. Yo, Malice.
You want to come see my snake? He's like, is that what you kids are calling it these days?
Yeah. He is short, man. People don't realize just how short he is.
A lot of people in entertainment are short.
Yep.
It's why it's an oddity. That's you have somebody that is large, which is fun on a lot of the old interviews with Adam Curry and various people. It's like, they're standing on boxes.
Absolutely.
Or you have to sit down and you have to get something to be the great equalizer.
Well, I would make him kneel, frankly, if I was doing the interview.
That would be right on the same. You'd be eye to eye.
Yeah. Because why would I have to stand on the box when I can make him kneel? That's easier.
Well, especially since you're Lord and Master.
That's right. Yes, those are my pronouns. Thank you.
You must use them or this interview is over.
Yeah.
But this is also a part of what the social media thing has changed in people that it's bizarre because for a while there was a very weird phenomenon, probably still going around, when people considered their Facebook friends as friends. That's like, did you ever meet this person in real life?
Yeah.
Nope. Well, then you're not really friends because you don't know if they are where they say they are, if they are the sex that they say they are, if they're the age they say they are.
Yeah, but look, you can communicate with somebody without physically being there and get to know somebody pretty damn well.
True, but you wouldn't know any of those things, meaning you're being catfished.
I mean, for years. I mean, at some point it becomes more work than it's worth to catfish.
Well, no, not now. Now that you have the ability to just do a video call and change your appearance and voice on the fly.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got a
system,
a buddy that I play video games with that we originally met through playing online in video games 20 years ago. And I've pretty much been playing video games ever since. But he just celebrated his 10th wedding anniversary, and I went out to his wedding, which was the first time that we'd met in person after like spending tons of time talking on voice comms while playing video games. And
well, you were at war,
I definitely consider him a friend.
Beyond that, you were in battle together.
We were, and still are, lots of times. We were flying spaceships together.
Bemmer says, how does Darren know he's not being catfished right now? I mean, I always assume I am at any time.
That's a safe bet.
Any place. And no, I don't consider my podcast friends to be friends. I don't even like the people I podcast with. Well, except true. Larry.
Yeah. What? Why Larry?
And Gene.
Bitch.
Is there anybody else? No.
No. It's again, our podcast started after we were just talking for an hour on the phone, and I said, we should do a podcast. And miraculously, right after I said that,
well, no, wait. What you said was
podcast partner.
Right, you said get rid of Bemrose. That was what you said.
Hey.
We could slip right.
You're much too good for Bemrose. You really ought to be with a different podcast first.
Right. This is exactly what you told me.
Yeah.
You could do better.
Yeah, it's amazing how things happen like that totally randomly. And then all of a sudden, looks like you and Bemrose no longer doing a podcast. Oh, you need somebody to come and fill in for him. Oh, I don't know. I might have time. I don't know. Maybe.
People have noticed that you do not see Harry Hamster and Sir Gene in the same place at the same time.
What's a hairy hamster?
Exactly.
I don't know what that is.
He's the guy in the troll room.
Oh, I haven't been in the troll room because I was banned, like perma-banned, like 5 years ago. So I wouldn't know.
You should try coming back in. I think the ban was finally lifted.
I doubt it.
And Bemrose is right.
Lifetime bans are not lifted after 5 years.
Bemrose says talking for an hour on the phone is no big accomplishment because Darren could hang up and Gene would still be talking for another hour.
Oh, burn.
It's like a pot, kettle. I mean, both of you. It's like, I've never done it, but I know with both that I have a pretty good chance that if I wanted to go to the bathroom during a show.
Yeah, you could. And that's called a benefit. When you're a podcast
co-host.
Because my other co-host, to plug Just Two Good Old Boys podcast, Ben, he always ends up to ask me something just as I got up to get another tea or something.
He has that
ability. Like he will talk quite a bit about a topic, but right as soon as I get up off the chair and put down the headphones because I ran out of tea or something, that's the moment he's going to choose to say, right, Gene?
Right, exactly.
Like, God damn it, dude, keep talking.
You can sense it. If somebody's walking away, like, it's a game.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to play that game, it could be entertaining, but also if you realize, as we do, that if you go, you never really want to say, oh, what do you think, Gene? It's usually you leave a pause, and if you don't get that filled up, you're just assuming that you should keep going for whatever reason.
Well, a professional certainly would do that, yes.
Yeah, you don't want to leave the dead air. You don't want to leave like a minute and 30 seconds of dead air, and then you're like, what's going on? Where were you? What do you mean? Sorry. Oh, I left. I had to come back.
That is true.
I blame
let me ask you about a pet peeve thing.
Okay.
Do you hate
pet peeves?
Do you hate it when people say right?
Yes.
Like interspersed in the middle of normal speech?
Yes.
Because they're not actually asking for an opinion, but they have this like almost a tick-like thing that makes them say right. And there's a YouTuber dude that does that there was a comment that I saw that somebody posted. It's like, no, love watching you, blah, blah, blah. But for the sake of God, can you just stop saying right all the time?
Well,
and the guy's response was, hey, if you don't like the way I talk, don't come here. Don't watch this video. Don't listen to me. Don't subscribe and don't give money. I'm like, whoa, that's a harsh response. And then I had to chime in at that point, of course. So I said, well, look, please don't berate him. I mean, it's obviously a medical condition.
Right.
He has no control over being able to say whether, when he says right, he's probably got a mild form of Tourette's, and insulting people for their mental handicaps is not polite.
Right.
So, and I haven't seen the response yet, but I'm sure there's going to be a response to that post.
It is becoming very prevalent in language, and I wouldn't doubt that I do it as well. There's things that go on in language, even though you're aware of it, and you try not to, it kind of sneaks in. It's very strange. Because this is something that is relatively new within the last few years, which I don't know if it's because a lot more things.
Wait, what's new?
The putting right into as a placeholder.
It's no different than the like of the 1980s.
Correct. Or an A lot of people still use the ums. It's like they feel like they have to say something.
I'm getting better at the ums, but they're still there. I think I've reduced them. Well, I don't have my individual ums, but I know that editing Just Two Good Old Boys, the last episode had about 300 ums.
Oh, is this a contest to see which one has?
No, I wish it was. No, it's not even that. No, it's just I use software to remove the ums. That. But that number has shrunk to about 300 per episode. So probably around 150 each from us, or I assume we're fairly even. Maybe I have fewer ums than Ben does. But when we first started doing the podcast, it was around 600.
So it's improving.
It's improving, but 600 ums for a 2-hour episode. So 300 ums per hour. It seems like a lot.
Yes. I mean, cutting a few of those out, probably not a bad idea.
I'd like to get that number under 100. I don't need to get it to 0, but if I could edit an episode that only has 100 ums, I'll be a happy camper.
And that was the intriguing thing when it first popped. I haven't looked recently with Adobe Premiere, which allows you to do the transcription, which allows you to highlight those filler words and ums.
So I've now paid for half a year of Adobe.
And never
I haven't installed it yet.
There you go. You should get it installed. But I don't think there's a way, as far as I know yet. I'll have to look again because things change when they update these things. But I think you could remove the ums or you can leave the ums, and neither one of those is a perfect solution, because if you remove them all, then you're probably making it sound a little too edited. I like your idea of, I want to remove this percentage of them.
Well, my idea isn't to remove. My idea is to stop saying them.
Well, of course. But when you're editing to, slowly kind of wean off.
Yeah.
But the words that are thrown in, like right, are one, I think people want a instant satisfaction of like, well, you agree with that, even though they're not going to stop and wait.
There's two ways to interpret that. So there's an NLP way, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which is that you're actually conditioning when you use words like right. So you're not saying right as a question because you're not sure of yourself. You're saying right in order to reinforce whatever it is that you're talking about, because you're not giving the person a chance to answer that question, but you're forcing them subconsciously to say right every time you say right. So they're associating the fact that you are correct simply by listening to your speech without even necessarily thinking about whether you're correct or not.
And if they're not even if they're not responding, yes, I think just saying the word,
right,
they feel like, okay, this is right, getting into the right. It must be right. I associate being right with Ryan Bemrose. I don't know why.
Left.
Well, let's also, that's even better. For people that have a problem and you say right and you don't want to, physically try to make yourself say left instead.
Left. Yeah, exactly.
So, Gene, I was really looking at this issue, and I think I came up with this reason, left. And That would be perfect. Just start throwing left in.
That would be hilarious if somebody started doing that. I might just start doing
There's
that.
A short. There's something. That's right. You want to do a TikTok short that'll get taken off, change right to left.
That would be funny.
The
other way to so that's if somebody's actually understands NLP, they're doing it on purpose. If the other way to interpret that is the more traditional way, which is the person is subconsciously expressing doubt in their own opinion and is searching for validation and therefore constantly asking, right? And
they're expecting somebody to nod while they're listening to you and give you some kind of sign.
It's really whatever topic they're discussing, their lack of, not even necessarily conviction, but their lack of knowledge of the topic that they're expressing subconsciously. So they're literally the opposite things, the two interpretations, but I think both can be valid, probably not at the same time. But it does, in either circumstance, I just see it just as bad as the Valley Girl like.
True, it's just a word thrown in that has very little meaning to the context.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious,
it's just filler. It's a filler word.
It's a filler word. And I don't think anybody would argue that people are also speaking faster. And I want to know, is this because people are listening to podcasts and things like that at a higher rate of speed? Is it because people are trying to fit more content into a little 60-second clip for the internet? Why all of a sudden is the rate of speech going up, and up as well? Because it seems to be a lot more common now to run into people that are doing the Ben Shapiro kind of talk as it was 5 or 10 years ago.
Right.
Could be a lot of coffee, Bemrose. Absolutely true. If you're getting a little jittery.
Yeah. And I have to stop drinking espressos because I noticed I bought some a week ago and I noticed like the first one is fine. But if I drink an espresso every morning for 3 days, I start getting headaches.
Interesting.
I never get headaches.
Like cumulative. What's like? Is it?
I think so.
When does the headache hit? When you start coming off the caffeine? Then?
No. It doesn't seem to be tied to that at all. It just like I never have headaches for years. I don't have headaches. I very rarely have ever had headaches in general, even when I was younger. But I've literally not had them for years. And I got, when I was coming back from Adam Curry's re-wedding, I stopped at a gas station to get one of those espresso shots so I wouldn't fall asleep when I was
gas
driving back.
Station espresso shots. Nothing better, people.
Well, they're Starbucks. They're in the refrigerator.
In the little can.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They're very good. They're super tasty. Anyway, so I did that. And it reminded me of how tasty they are. So I'm like, oh, I should order some.
I should have 2, 3, 4.
Next shopping trip, I got like an 8-pack of them. And I'm not like slamming a whole bunch of them. I'm still like, okay, I'm only going to drink like 1 in the morning and then maybe 1 around dinner time. And that's it. And just doing that for 3 days in a row made me wake up with a headache.
Well, see, waking up with the headache would mean you're coming down off the caffeine.
I guess you're right. But like drinking it didn't fix the headache.
Oh, see, that's an oddity.
Until a couple hours later. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to stop this. So I paused a few days, no headaches. And I thought, well, maybe it was just a fluke. So I once again had an espresso, and then I think one. The next day I had a couple of them. Next day I had another one and another headache. I'm like, well, son of a bitch. So apparently now I've gotten to that state in my life where I can no longer drink caffeine with no effects.
As Ned and Cottingen say, make real espresso. I mean, I wonder what's in the canned stuff. There might be
It's real espresso. Yeah, if you haven't had one of these, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
But is there something added? Are there any other chemicals added to keep the shelf life going?
I mean,
because there could be something else in there that's causing.
Could be, but I've had these things for 30 years.
Yeah, but you're old now.
But I'm old now, exactly.
That's the problem.
And Okay, well, fair enough point to the person that said make a real one. I could. I actually haven't used my espresso machine. I have a really nice Italian high pressure espresso machine too at home.
Well, the snakes are enjoying it, I'm sure.
No, I've been making tea with it. So it's a complete waste of the machine. But I could make a homemade espresso just for science and then have one in the morning and see if I get the headache. I suspect I will. I'm sure it's not anything weird. It probably is the caffeine, most likely. Because I also don't drink soda. So I'm not getting any caffeine other than what's in tea, which has some caffeine, but not a lot.
Now, was it the espresso in cream? Was that the one?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is a premium espresso beverage.
It's like a $2 2-ounce thing.
I know. It's a
great
scam. How come we didn't get in on this?
It's really tasty. I don't think it's a scam. I would much rather buy one of those little 2-ounce deals than to buy a full, 12-ounce can of coffee.
It is best served chilled or over ice. Mm.
Yeah, you want it just over freezing level, like 34 degrees is perfect for it. So use your espresso refrigerator for those.
Yeah, and there is a sucralose and acetylfame, something in it. Some good way here. I can make this larger.
Yeah, I was going to say, get the blind man reading the label on the can that's tiny.
I know. Well, it's on the screen, of course. Asulfame potassium and sucralose are added with the cream.
Yeah, the sucralose is the sweetener. Yeah. The other one's a preservative.
Well, see, the preservatives, those are no good for you.
I mean, they're not. Yeah, but they're okay.
Although now I've noticed the last 2 times because I was figuring that, and I still think they made a ingredient change because we were going to the shawarma place. I told you how much I love the shawarma.
You did.
Now it's setting off migraines.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm thinking maybe they started using MSG in something. Although I had, I
don't know what the hell you were reading, dude. I'm reading the label on the actual can that I have in here. Ingredients: brewed espresso, coffee made of water and coffee, reduced fat milk, sugar, cream, skim milk. That's it. No preservative.
Was the one that was on Amazon. There may be different versions.
That's called
of
a
the Starbucks
fake product out of China.
No, it's Starbucks. It's a Starbucks store. It's the same on Walmart.
Fake Starbucks store. Well, I'm reading the actual.
The Walmart does have, interestingly enough, Walmart. The can says what you say. Amazon. Maybe they just switched the. It looks like the same can
with different ingredients.
Yeah, with because this does say the espresso, reduced fat milk, sugar, cream, skim milk, where it doesn't have the preservative and it doesn't see this uses sugar rather than sucralose. So maybe there's one that is a sugar-free version as well.
I know they have a low-calorie version.
That must be the one I looked at.
But I would.
Jeez, I would never go low-cal, baby.
Fuck that shit, man.
This is body made by sugar.
You don't know what you're getting if you get the low-calorie one.
Right. The chemicals in the low-cal stuff. You're way better. And sugar will kill you, but you're way better having a little bit of sugar than the chemicals that are in the sugar-free stuff.
Well, yeah, it's sugar is definitely not good for diabetics like me.
No.
However,
this might also be why you're getting headaches. You monitor your sugar.
No.
Does your sugar go way up when you have the espresso?
No.
Does the little machine go beep, 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 beep?
It just goes up a little bit. You're about right on the noise of the machine, too. Jesus Christ.
And it's like, Gene, you're going to die.
Yeah, it's annoying. I have to keep upping when it beeps with the sugar thing because it's annoying.
You're like, I'm fine being 90% to death.
If I'm sitting here eating a fucking Dairy Queen, I think I know that my sugar is going up. Okay, you don't have to tell me.
The machine's
God damn it.
Try this small next time. You don't need the extra large 14-gallon.
What the biggest surprise for me was when I first plugged in the continuous blood monitor thing. And by plug in, I mean you just slap it on your skin. Is rice. Because I had sushi, which, is fish on top of rice. And my blood sugar shot up like higher than if I just ate ice cream. I was like, holy shit, rice is bad.
Yeah, white rice is...
Apparently white rice is like pure sugar.
Yeah, it's going to get there. that's what it's going to turn
into. It's a starch, but it happens apparently extremely quickly because the effect from rice, and I've done it a number of times, probably like a dozen times now, where I've watched it as right after eating sushi, the blood sugar just spikes straight up.
Interesting.
Which you don't get with a lot of other foods. Like I could eat a sandwich with bread and it's a gradual increase and then, a fairly quick decrease. With rice, it's the opposite. It's like a really fast increase and then a gradual decrease in blood sugar. So rice is not good. And it's too bad because I like Asian food and Asian food tends to use a lot of rice.
Yeah. I mean, I had the spicy rice in my shawarma bowl and it was so delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the time in between, because like you, I will put myself through let's make sure, because there are coincidental reasons why you'd have migraines.
Mm-hmm.
And between the two steak shawarma bowls, I had a chicken shawarma bowl, no fucking headache. So now,
so it's MSG.
That's what I'm guessing because
I guarantee you it's MSG. Yeah.
So you think they season the steak differently than the chicken?
Yep. Absolutely.
Which would make sense.
Yep.
And they probably didn't use it when they first opened the place, and now have changed because I ate there a bunch of times. It was like, this is great.
It's like it's easier to make chicken taste good than to make steak taste good. And if they're having if they bought some cheap rancid meat, that's nothing like MSG to make it taste better.
Everybody get some cheap rancid meat right here.
Well, you don't think restaurants continuously do that?
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
And the chicken stuff's just as good, so I will try the chicken one again. Or
I will tell you, I ordered a lot of ethnic, like halal food, and I've pretty much went to chicken only. I used to order a lot of other, like halal pork is really good. But at this point, if I order something Middle Eastern, it's going to be chicken.
And it is good. I like the chicken stuff.
Yeah, they do a good job. I'd say a third of my meals that I eat are coming from halal places.
So I wasn't even aware that they used a lot of the MSG. Then again, back in the day before I realized, Chinese food gets the rap, rightfully so.
Well, that's because it's a standard ingredient that's on tables in China, kind of like salt is here.
But I didn't even realize that there's a lot of Italian restaurants that will use it. There is a lot of it that goes into
It's unfortunate that you've got an allergy to it because MSG can definitely make foods taste really good.
Oh, yeah. Well, like I said, delicious.
Yeah.
It's just about, depending on the dosage and everything else. The only time I had it immediately was eating at a Polish place where
they had MSG.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The sausages or whatever it was.
That's crazy. You wouldn't think that a Polish place would use MSG.
No. And that was the only time it was
CSB.
Immediate.
What the hell, man?
I know. Normally it's like, well, it'll be an hour or two afterwards and then the little vision thing starts and all sorts of fun stuff. Wow. So I try to avoid it as well as I can.
As you should.
And it's horrible when it's something you like. It's like, can you not? Right. And I called up the one Chinese place that opened up by my parents' house, and they went to this place is great. And they're like, they say they can do anything without MSG. So I called up the one day and I'm like, hey, so do you make your food without MSG? Oh yeah, we can make anything without MSG. And I said, I was about to hang up and I'm like, does that mean the appetizers too? Well, no, the appetizers are pre-made. And I'm like, well, okay, fuck you. When somebody calls and asks if your food can be done without MSG, and you say, of course, and then you're like, well, can you get your appetizer soups and those? Well, no, those are pre-made, and they have probably MSG in them. It's like, well, that's not MSG free. And it is. It's a shame. And there are people that still want to argue MSG is fine. It's good for you. There's no way.
It is fine and it is good for you. It's
not me personally. Right. Well, this is it. And that's what people don't understand. It's like, well, people, peanuts. I eat peanut butter. I love it. Some people have some peanut butter. They're going to die.
Well, yeah, like Zoomers. Yeah.
People
Like
that
that
have
whole
the
generation.
allergy. Well, because they were.
Because it was, we've had a bioweapon utilized in the American population that has now created a whole bunch of peanut allergy.
I blame
users.
Jimmy Carter, man.
Yeah, he's a good guy to blame. I'll go along with that.
He's still alive, isn't he?
Honestly, peanut butter, I think I still have a jar somewhere in the cupboard.
Never really goes bad.
Never. Well, yeah, it's a fat, so as long as you keep it out of oxygen, shouldn't go bad. But I used to really like it when I was a kid, and I've tried a number of times as an adult, an older person at this point. I just don't think it's all that good, man. I don't understand why I liked it as a kid.
Have you tried the natural stuff, the better stuff? Because you may just like...
You mean from Whole Foods?
Well, beyond Whole Foods, there's, Smucker's makes...
Everybody's got Whole Foods, what?
There's
nothing beyond Whole Foods. What
everybody's got an organic version, which is, the stuff that the oil's going to separate from the peanut butter.
Oh, yeah, that's horrible.
Well, this is why, and a lot of people, what you really liked about the peanut butter that we had as a kid, when you look at the ingredients,
it's super processed.
Yeah, and sugar.
Yeah. It was like 50% sugar.
It's like no wonder it was great.
You could eat it with a spoon because it had both salt and sugar.
It was like, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I still do that now with a little bit, with a nice Fuji apple cut up, a little bit of peanut butter to dip it into.
Oh yeah.
That's good stuff.
I remember that, but I will honestly say I don't think I actually would enjoy it if I had that right now.
It all depends how hungry you are.
Well, yeah, of course. Everything depends on how hungry you are. I'm just saying that
for me,
given the choice of different foods,
right.
Peanut butter is not high on my list. Like Elvis was eating peanut butter and banana sandwiches when he was doing a lot of drugs. So maybe.
Well, yeah. On white bread, and then not only was it the peanut butter and banana sandwich, a lot of people don't realize Elvis ate them fried like a grilled cheese.
Oh, man.
It wasn't like you just put peanut butter and banana on white bread and then ate it. No, you slather that with butter and put it in a pan.
Oh, everything tastes better fried. God damn. So I found a new restaurant here. Let me pull it up in Austin. That is, come on, where's my past orders?
And don't forget a fried bologna sandwich. Those, as bad as that is for you, there's something about a little fried bologna with a little cheddar or American cheese on a grilled roll. Oh,
yeah, everything tastes better. Okay, so the last place I ate was Halal Brothers, and then before that, Asiana Indian, and then Firebowl. Okay, Meltdown. That's the place. So the Meltdown is a sandwich shop where it's only grilled sandwiches.
It's a great idea.
Right? So I'm going to send you a link to this. If anybody's in Austin, check out the Meltdown. They may be a chain for all I know. I don't know if there's a bunch of these all over the country or not.
And that's a great name too. It's like, check out the Meltdown.
Mm-hmm. But every sandwich is basically made on crispy, butter-fried white bread.
Woo! So healthy.
Well, not at all. However, it is tasty. I don't know if that link works for you. If it does,
I was going to say, now that I have a direct Uber Eats thing with a personalized link, can I order food for you?
Yeah. You should order food for me. Yes, that would be appreciated. Actually, that wouldn't be appreciated because they've got my card on file, so you can just order food for me and I pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's win-win.
It's totally down to win-win.
Just like taking Bemrose out for sushi. But they do have
a 2-for-1 deal right now.
See, there you go.
Which is on a sausage, bacon, ham, scrambled eggs, and American cheese on a grilled artisan bun.
Sounds delightful. We know what you're having.
I'm not having that, but I have had that, and it's pretty damn good. It's that just the right amount of dry, crisp bread where it's still soft on the inside but crispy on the outside.
Yes. Well, that's once I realized that the toaster is large enough to put 2 slices of bread in together So only the outsides get toasted and the inside doesn't.
Fuck that toasted bread shit. You gotta fry it.
Well,
you gotta have fried bread, man.
Fry that bread. Don't forget, Gene is on the road next week, so no Unrelenting on Friday.
Yep. Unfortunately, traveling.
And we'd still like to thank NetNed for being the sole executive producer of this show. So if anybody has a problem with the content of this show, NetNed's the guy you want to see.
Yes, talk to the producer.
And we'll be back next week to do it. Or no, 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now.
To do it again.